everybody. Welcome back to the Spinning Rack. Oh my goodness, the Loki finale was off the hizzy. Hey, we're here talking about all the controversies. We're here talking about all the stuff that happened in the movie. But we got to say one more thing. We loved it. So I'm here with the boys. I'm here with CA,
Yeah.
and PD. Say what's up, guys.
What up?
Ready to rock.
All I got to say, this episode hit all the things that we wanted it to do. You know, it gave us I'll just say, it gave us Kang. That's what happened. Kang came out and helped to explain the whole multiverse, setting up what was going to happen in future movies. That is off the hizzy. The guys, of course, once again, love that whole thing. We also found out about what happened with the TVA. Does Kang survive? Does he not? Huh? Which Loki is going to take over the throne or not? And this is what we see happen, or it's just going to be chaos. So once again, I got to say, I'm putting this onto my boy, Petey. Petey, boom! Tell us a little about this episode. We move forward from there.
Basically, the Lokis continue on and go into this big cathedral to find the timekeepers, and they find the dude from Lovecraft Country in his purple outfit, and he's pretentious, like like he's doing one of those Apple sort of meetings. He's eating an apple and whatnot. He's acting all pretentious about his thing, but ultimately, he's saying that there's no way for our so-called heroes or our so-called anti-heroes to win. Because basically, he's trying to say he wants one of them to take over, take him out. But either way you go, he's gonna win. And Loki that we know is kind of figured that, you know what, we shouldn't play to what this guy wants. And then Sylvie is like, hey, I've been through too much. I want revenge. And it's a lot of yapping, but it introduces the concept of many Kangs, many different names, that sort of thing. And at the same time, Lokis have a little bit of another fight. We also see some TVA stuff where they are trying to figure out what they're gonna do post this time. But Sylvie is she is what she is. She decides she has to take him out, and then Loki tries to go get some help from the TVA, but they are a little befuddled also. So we see one big change, and this is the biggest, as the go-to, what Cal said, one of the biggest setups so far that we've seen. A big change in the TVA, and we get to see Kang without his mask and helmet and all that stuff. We see a statue of Kang and his afro. Like, when are we going to see Kang with the look he's supposed to look like? Instead of walking around here with no helmet on.
All you're giving, bro. That's all we're giving. You're not going into no.
Put on the mask. Put on the Kang mask. Why does the statue has to have an afro?
Because if we put on the mask, we can't know that he's black. So we don't get the diversity we're looking for.
I don't think
you see his face.
Oh man! Oh my gosh! You guys are just going off the chain. Look,
you gotta put that. You gotta no. You can't put a mask on.
Whoa. Hey, all actors don't want to have the mask off, so let's not even talk about that. There was a big controversy with the whole thing with Mandalorian where they wanted to take off the mask. So give me a break, man.
It's not the Mandalorian.
Our point is that,
and the fact that it's a face, not like a helmet. It's a face where you can see his face, these lines. So it would be the shape of his face. People have designed it to make it look like his face with a mask on it. So you can see that face, which is pretty much, you can tell what that face is going to look like under a mask. They've drawn it many a times. So put that face with some makeup or whatever it is, or digitally put it on there with that face and just the helmet. That's all I need to see. I'm not saying they're going to have a mask where you don't see his face.
You can put on a mask, you can take off a mask. You can put on a mask, you can take off a mask. All right, so listen, let me, clearly I went off the rails, people. My apologies for passing on to Lecter. Just give yourself 5, okay? Professor CA, what is your thought about this episode?
It was great. Like, I was only a tiny bit conflicted because it wasn't exactly, because I felt like, I'm not sure if I got all the things that I wanted to know about it, but to have Kang in there, I was hyped. I was just like very happy to see they actually took that for real step of having that actor in there, and I thought that was great. And as soon as I saw that he was going to basically talk for 25 minutes, I was like, I'm here for it. Let's go, break it all down, give us the whole backstory. I was excited to hear like his relationship with them, the fact that he's been kind of guiding this to get them there. Like he knew he was going to have a Loki to kind of maybe be his apprentice or take over the TVA, but the fact he was surprised that it was two, and he was intrigued by that. I was totally on board. I was like, this is super exciting from the moment they showed him, because I was thinking they were going to cop out, to be honest with you. So the fact that they actually went there and showed him, and in a way that it could kind of save face and be like, well, look, this is not, he never says his name. He never says, I am Kang. He doesn't imply the conqueror part, though. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, I'm just agreeing. He who remains, I think is what.
He who remains. I was for the Kang of it all. I think it made it for any little like minor squabbles I had. They actually kissed. They actually took it there. And then we actually saw how their relationship resolved and whether or not she was going to go on with the mission or not. So I thought it was overall, I was happy with it. Still left with a lot of questions, but a lot of excitement and anticipation for the next series of movies.
Thank you for your honesty, Professor CA. Thank you for your breath of life, of fresh air here. Thank you.
Thank you. No problem.
I was honest. What do you mean? I honestly wanted them to look like Kang, not just to have purple on.
Talk about the story, PD. Can we guys talk about the story?
I did talk about the story. Why can't he have a full outfit on? Why can't we see them spend some money instead of putting in some drapes?
PD, I'll give you 5 again. Okay, another 5 right now. Cal.
PD has a good point. I'll just say this and then hand it over to Cal. PD has a good point in the sense that like you get the taste of what this one version, this is what he kind of outlines, is that I'm one version of Kang and you got many, many others like coming. So I do expect to see a Kang with the helmet on at some point in time.
I think that Kang will wear the mask, but I think it's a mask. I don't think it's considered his face. And that's the only point for PD.
Oh man, you really setting me up for this stuff, right? And then I'm not. You're serving up these meatballs for me to smash out of the park, and you don't want me to do it, right? And then I'm not supposed to do it, right?
Remember, we have ground rules. Just remember that. That's all I got to tell you. Okay. So, Cal, can you please give us a brief interpretation of your thoughts on this show?
Yeah, I'll give my interpretation, and I'll make it as brief as I decide to make it. Thank you very much. All right. Don't try to control me, man. Don't try to control me. All right. Never doubt my macho. Now, but that being said, I didn't enjoy the episode at all. When he said his name, I was like, okay, there's an actual character by that name, He Who Remains. So I'm thinking, okay, it's this character. Then they're like, oh no, it's Kang. I'm like, it's Kang? I was like, anybody wearing purple is supposed to be Kang? And then the way it has come across, I was like, this doesn't seem like Kang from the comic at all. So I'm sitting here, a lot of the stuff he's saying was droning, and I had to like really push myself to pay attention to what he was saying. And then I shrugged my shoulders, like, well, so what? None of the stuff that happened in this series is really a big enough build. It's not entitled Loki. It's not entitled Kang. It's supposed to be about Loki. And the biggest, again, I'm just tired of these contemptuous shows where you don't give me anything. Okay, you don't give me anything to really deal with or to masticate on. And then at the end of it, you say, well, Loki season 2. Oh, okay. So I'm your bitch now. I'm gonna watch season 1. Season 2. You know me that well that I'm just gonna come back for season 2 and you've given me no reason to at the end of the day. I was just thoroughly disappointed with it. And this series I thought would be more entertaining than the others because it didn't have to attach it to anything. I will give them credit that they did introduce Kang, which I wasn't sure of like for at least a day until like I saw how everybody was playing the Kang comic book that existed. I'll give them credit for introducing who's supposed to be a major player with the upcoming films and the TV show. They had really seemed to stay away from that. But aside of that, an underwhelming story, a total misuse of the actors that they had to perform here, and a villain that I really don't care if I ever see again.
Hey, take 5, Cal. Just take 5. So going back to the whole episode again, look, He Who Remains clearly was what he was trying to get someone to take his spot. You know what I'm trying to say? Think of it like the guy holding up the world. That's what he was doing, right? He's constantly Atlas holding up the world. He wanted someone to take over his place. And of course, he thought Loki, the gods of mischief, would be the one who would probably do it. You get to this is what Professor CA said, right? And when these two come in, he helps to explain what happened. Why he's so what happened that he and other variations of the Kangs, not just one, the Kangs, that they all ended up trying. At first, they tried to work with one another, and afterwards, they started fighting themselves, causing this multi-dimensional universal war, which will play into the whole Marvel Phase 4, which explains Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Quantum Mania with Ant-Man. This sets up the whole situation. So this is very, very important. In fact, it's so important that Black Widow came out, and this knocked Black Widow out the box because the information people were so intrigued by this whole thing. There are different versions of Kang. He's not meant to be the Kang. He's just meant to be the one who won at the very end and the one who helped to set up the TVA. And his whole thing is, well, yes, he's controlling it and he's deciding what universes need to exist, right? Of course, his exists because his is his. And of course that's horrible for some people like Sylvie, who had who's taken away from her family, and she lives as long as Loki. Loki, how old is Loki? What, 500 years old, 1,000 years old, 10,000 years old? She lived
like 1,500, somewhere around there.
So she's 1,500 years old. So for 15, I mean, she was like 9 or 10 or whatever, pretty young. Let's say she was 100 years old in Asgardian years. She's been around, going from apocalypse to apocalypse to apocalypse, and now you get this guy that you have right now. What are you going to do? We have the other Loki who's reformed. He's seen the light. He's seen what happened in the world, and he says, all right, I'm realizing this guy is much more important. I don't want to take over this guy's power, but I'm more interested in Sylvie and stuff like that. And I think that was, yeah, there's a lot of dialogue, but I thought a lot of that was important. We have the setup with Kang. We also have the setup with where we see the two Lokis and how they deal with things. And of course, the other Loki who hasn't gone through the experiences, Sylvie who hasn't gone through the experiences of our Loki, she's like, nah, man, yeah, I kind of like you. I'm sending you back, but I'm taking this guy out. And of course, we see the consequences of that. When you have some guy who's holding up, even if he's a bad guy, he's holding up the world or the universe at that stage. What happens? Someone has to take his place. That was the whole reason this was set up, for Loki to come and take his place. He said, either you take my place or someone worse will come after me. And that's the embodiment of Kang with the curly hair, brother with the afro that you so have a problem with, And so that's what we see. Whereas before, in the TVA, he who remains is using the timekeepers as his frontman. Here, this dude is coming and say, "Yo, I'm running the show, baby."
All right, I'm gonna cut into you because you brought up the afro. Can you take your hat off? And you notice that your hair is combed. There's a thing where we have to do. You're saying we have to do it. We're like, the brother can't use a comb. Somebody use it. Look, Mars is using the comb. Why can't Kang use a comb?
Yeah, tightly coiffed there, Mars.
Have to be.
What does that have to do with anything but about the story, bro?
It don't have nothing to do with the story. It's just saying, why does the statue just say, you know what? We're gonna chisel this out and make sure the fro is unkempt, like we see our brothers these days. Because we can't have a. Remember back in the day when your fro wasn't combed and you're ranked out. Remember those days? Notice that you're still a full effect because you combed your hair. I've yet to ever see.
I comb my hair. This is a fresh cut, baby. It's a fresh cut.
See, you went a step further.
You know what I'm trying to say? So it's not a whatchamacallit. It's a fresh cut. All right. So it's a different thing. Okay. Why are we even talking about this?
What I would love to, I want to kind of talk back to Calvin in terms of his lack of enjoyment of the show. Like, if you don't like it, that's, everybody has their opinion. I'm down for that. For me, I judge the show by like what they set up and did they complete it? Like, did the characters complete their arcs? And I think I initially may have felt like Calvin did, but I think like when I thought about it, a lot of what was set up was completed. Like Sylvie completed her arc. She's like, they messed my life up, the TVA. I want to meet the head of this and I want to take him out. She did it. Loki's whole story was of, like you said before, Mars, it was of redemption. So he did actually get redemption by the end of it, and the fact that he cared more about Sylvie and less about like power. yeah, and I also there's two other kind of points that I would love to talk about in terms of like one, the idea of glorious purpose, because that's basically what Kang was offering him, a truly glorious purpose. And then also the idea of the superior Loki, like who was the superior Loki, or what moments did we get introduced to characters who were superior Lokis?
Great, I agree. So, Cal, do you want to answer that? Respond to that?
I think a lot of that deviates from the actual show. I think those are ideas you can extrapolate off what we were given in the show, but they're not
Yeah.
supported by the show necessarily. So, I could definitely go that route with them, but if I just went by what I was given, a lot of the stuff, I don't feel that there was any definitive role or any definitive character arc for either Loki or for Sylvie at the end of the day that isn't an Ouroboros type of situation
Mm.
where it just
Hmm.
feeds on itself. Now, un- unfortunately, and again, I just find this to be very contemptuous of viewers. If I decide to connect these synapses or to make all the extensions necessary for that to work, I got plenty to talk about. I'm not willing to do that for the show. I came here as a viewer, okay? And there's certain shows that I'm more than willing to geek out and nerd out on, and other shows, no, you didn't do it for me to that I want to exercise that part of my intellect for. This show didn't do that. So for me, it's like, look, I'm gonna go by based on what you had. Okay, you didn't really give me a premise for the show, and as I'm watching it, there's no fulfillment from episode one, okay, through episode six. If there was a superior Loki, it was the Loki that they decided to try to ham and make him look horrible in the classic outfit. They said, let's make that outfit look terrible so people can see how bad that comic book outfit looks, so they can see what the stuff we do looks a whole lot better. But this was a guy who was actually closer to what the Loki
Hmm.
character we were introduced was. And
Hmm.
they're like, okay, let's show him and then get rid of him as quickly as possible so people don't remember what the character actually could be. So I got a depowered Loki, spending a lot of time talking, falling in love with himself, doing the cess kiss. And
Literally.
I'm like, okay, this is all the stuff you're giving me, but you didn't really fulfill anything at the end of the day. And then you have the audacity to tell me that Loki will be back in season two as if I'm coming back with you.
Clearly, you were watching a different show. I mean, I gotta disagree with you on so many points, so many levels. But we got to give the floor to PD because he's had five and now he has to say something.
I have to say something. Of course, I have to say something. Ultimately, I'm going to go back to what I was talking about with Kang.
The hair again, the hair. Jesus, what's
No.
hair?
Yeah,
Jesus.
show
Oh
that
wow. Oh,
Now, if you
pictures
look
and
at this
cakes.
page, look at this picture right here, right?
Oh, what's that? Avengers? Is that Avengers? What 267
No,
with
it's
the council?
this is after this. This is later. This is when Walt Simonson took over it because when the original Cross Time Kings were introduced,
Council Kangs.
which you brought up, there was only like four of them, and Walter Simonson saw that and said, nah, it's got to be like millions of them. So when he got on the book, I think it's 291. They had the meeting, and you can see some of the faces here on these characters. So it's like you see the one that's sort of like a lizard here, and you can
Right.
see some
Hmm.
of the face, but it has the outfit, the full outfit on, and that sort of thing. So that's ultimately I was in enjoying that aspect that we could be getting that, but when Cal just pointed out that he who remains wasn't exactly Kang, it was another character that's from like I think a Thor book or something like that. They're just trying to go with the Immortus, Ramatut, and then whoever else is time related, they'll make them into a variation of Kang rather than
Hmm.
3 million Kangs, which is what I wanted to see when the first idea, and I like the idea that there's only one Immortus, there's only one Ramatut, and there's only the hero remains. I would keep him out of it because he's not really. It goes with the timekeepers from the Thor book. I think not in the same book, but those three characters that are kind of given prominence by Kurt Busiek. But
Hmm.
ultimately, it kind of kills what I was expecting to see, of seeing these multitude of Kangs, and or getting to see him in the classic outfit because we had a key writer who's Roger Stern, who's not really that keen on Kang, and he kind of ousted him in Secret Wars in 2 seconds when he was on there, and I was like, oh, I'm finally gonna get to see Kang in a book because at that point, you had to go hunt for back issues, and he's not showing up all the time. So, but then he's ousted pretty quickly, and then he shows up in the Avengers, and he's a brief hint to him in the Fantastic Four during that '80s period. But then later we got to see a lot more of him. So hopefully we get to see him in his classic garb. But ultimately, these Marvel movies like to have people outside of their outfits. So let's hope for the best. And long as they didn't, decide to kill our classic Loki that we got from the movie, the Avengers and the Thor movies, and he's at least be back for the next season. We can hope there'll be some good in this thing. The whole romance part, I'm not necessarily with, but I wasn't too bothered with it. But it was just taking these Lokis away from being fun characters. So try to have some fun next season. More fun.
I want to make a point. Put up the selector. Put up the thing, the link I just sent you
I don't see a link from you.
in the chat.
What was that? Let's say that again. I had to get you back.
So you're being childish on a video. Can you please put up the link selector?
I had to do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I guess you're better nature. Put the damn thing on, selector.
Oh, what? You trying to curse at me? Wow, that's a harshest. I'm in DEFCON 4 with you right now.
No. Cal is in DEFCON 4. He's Do you notice what he just did, right there? That's taking off the helmet and the mask. Okay, you see that? We don't see his
Trying
face.
to say he's not a black guy.
It doesn't matter. The point is this.
There's also there's no fro. No fro.
There are many different versions. The point is that it's a mask that he's wearing. A mask. So the fact that he's not wearing one is not a big consequence. Okay. Now I'm getting back to Cal. You and your
Wait. Hold on a second. You put that panel up right over there to make that argument. When we saw all those when we saw the Council of Kangs with all of those Kangs here, and this is your argument based on this?
Yeah, he could be taken off. It's a mask. That's all it is. It's like Dr. Doom has a mask.
Say that the mask could be taken off. I just wanted to see it.
You don't see it. It's a mask. Dr. Doom wears a mask. It's a mask. That's what I wanted to show you, that he can take it on and off.
Dr. Doom always has that mask on though. Same with Kang for the most part. And this right over here is him putting the mask on, not taking it off.
Boop boop doo.
So getting back to you and the matters that you didn't like the show, so for you don't want to speculate. You don't want to go into any stuff. So if you're already starting with a negative thought that the show isn't any good, that's what's going to.
Don't try that reverse discrimination with me. That if I don't like it, automatically I'm a hater. I don't like it. I don't like it. These guys could definitely do some stuff later on. They could do some stuff later on with Kang, everything else that they develop. Where I'm like, hey, I didn't like what I saw here, but I'm really on board for what they're going at that point. At that point now. So they just didn't do anything for me right now.
The Marvel series that didn't really give us a lot. Probably Scarlet Witch gave us a little bit more than at the very end. And then
we still got more Marvel TV coming down the pipe. We got Hawkeye, we got Moon Knight, She-Hulk. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to What If, but this is the third one, and I am starting to become a little fatigued with shows that aren't giving me any payoff, and I'm suspending disbelief. I'm putting the time in to watch this show. I'm eager, and you're not delivering.
What are you talking about, payoff? We have the Scarlet Witch, the very first one, where we see her and her power and how she's able to do stuff. We also see how she develops brings in her own kids into it. We also get a whole possible new hero there. Captain America, we have the whole Bucky and Falcon getting together. We also have the very fact that Falcon becomes Captain America through the hero's journey. Another thing, they also talk about what happened to the world when people were gone. There's a lot of stuff going on. You're just not seeing it. You need to put on the glasses, bro, and watch what you're seeing. Then you'll be able to see that there's things that are happening there, But you're coming in with the negative attitude, saying, hey, look, I'm not interested in it, so this not giving me immediate gratifications. But a lot of these are world building things. They're enjoyable in and of themselves, and they're world building. So that when you go see these movies, you see some of the basis of how these movies were developed and where some of these ideas are coming. I don't see the problem there.
You know what? I'm gonna get you back, but at a time and place of my choosing. So I'll let you have this one.
Okay. So in the end, anybody else want to chime in on anything else? Talk about people's hair. Talk about what color shoes they wear. What color robes they have.
You want me to? I can find some more stuff to talk about. No,
Well,
I'm done.
they actually did talk about that in the assembled version of Loki, in which they kind of do the behind the scenes of the making of Loki, and he talked about how the clothes that he's wearing was like a mix of different time periods. Like the cape that he had on was from the Victorian period. The shoes were from kind of, I think, the Mongolian. No, it wasn't the Mongolian. It was something else
Genghis Khan, right?
from Genghis Khan, right? And that the trousers he was wearing was actually from the Mongolian people, and literally the exact pants that one of the characters was wearing when he landed with the Mongolians. You couldn't see it because she had the burqa on, but like underneath that, I think they were wearing the same pants. They were all kind of pulled from the fashion section, the designer section of things that they gathered. So yeah, and just to add on to your point, Mars, like, and I think this talks to what PD was saying too, is that Marvel is famous for kind of like taking their time and kind of like setting up certain key concepts so that by the time you get to the movies, people understand what's happening. So I think a lot of it was kind of made sense in some ways to bring Kang in at the end there, because they were using Loki in that whole series to kind of, yes, lay down the idea of the multiverse, the threat of the multiverse, and that world building, but also the idea of variance, because we're going to see a lot of variants of Kang. So seeing how variants work with Loki, that they don't have to look like him, they can look like different people, they could be animals, that we're going to see like a lot of variants of Kang coming out.
And I'm glad you brought that up. And what Cal is saying, you should have seen What If. Well, What If, this helps to explain how the What If handles. These could happen in other universes, these people here. It also, and let's talk about the big kahuna in the thing. Now with the whole multiverse, we can bring in X-Men. We can bring in Fantastic Four.
No, we're not doing that again.
We
No,
can
stop
do
it.
all that
Stop
stuff.
it.
You know what I'm trying to say? We can
Stop.
bring
No,
back
no,
we can even bring in Conan, for
no,
God's sake.
please.
Aliens. All
Stop
that stuff
it.
can be brought in
Stop.
right now
Please
because of
stop.
multiverse. Okay?
Stop it. That's not, you can't do, you can just do an X-Men movie. Don't have to do, hey, we're on Earth X and we
Yeah.
need the X-Men. Like, come on, man.
You already have a mutant in the form of Scarlet Witch there. So you don't really need to do all this multiversity stuff in order to bring them in. You just need to tell the story.
I'm just saying the possibilities there, John. Okay?
All right, you got the Eternals who supposedly have been sitting everything out until now. So in that you've got the groundwork. We're like, hey, yeah, we got these people all over the place. Okay, and they're not Skrulls, they're mutants. Not too hard.
Possibilities there, guys. So hey, let's close up. With a good note, gentlemen. As always, everybody, we love this episode. The team agreed 100% as usual. Just want to say, hey, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. Spin a rack.
Out.
Out.